world. Today I have Nicolette Crystal from Crystal Soul, a beautiful light soul. Yeah, I always say that I always have beautiful souls in my program. She comes from South Africa, from Cape Town. She's a crystal healer, a clairvoyant, a channel, a Reiki Master, a teacher, and an artist. You are a lot, eh? You do loads of things. Eh? Hello, Nicolette, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so well.
You're okay? Is it good weather there, yeah?
Well, it's winter here at the moment, but we had a beautifully sunny day today. So, yes, there's good weather, but yeah, not so much because it's winter.
Exactly. Yeah, but in the winter we can have good days also, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Okay, darling. When did your, let's say, your spiritual path started?
Well, I've always been spiritual in nature. From a young child, I used to beg to go to the church from about 3 in nappies, so I've always had this calling to be connected to Source. And at about 16, my mum took me to a full moon meditation by this lovely lady called Natalia Baker, and it was really powerful. I started seeing rainbows over the whole crowd while they were meditating, and that just changed everything for me. It was so eye-opening to see, and to see all the beautiful rainbow colors. I realized there's so much more, and then the quest began. From there, I landed up coming across the group of absolutely amazing 20-year-olds or so at that time, and we had a yoga studio, and we used to meditate twice a week, and there were just about 20 clairvoyant, enthusiastic young people meditating, learning psychometry, channeling angels. At that time, galactic beings were not a thing. It was really weird, but I saw it. We all saw these beautiful, long, tall blue beings. We learned sound healing. Everybody just came to the party and shared from different backgrounds of yoga, people who traveled around Europe, Native American influences. It was just so powerful. It was this beautiful grounding for where I am right now, and all this validation where most people don't have that opportunity to be surrounded by other clairvoyants, people talking light language. I mean, this was what, 2000? So it was way before the hype of now, And it was kind of
Yes,
hard because the excitement
absolutely. There was
was
nothing then.
huge, to be that age and realize, my word, there's so much out there. There are so many spiritual beings, and there's so much happening, but no one to share it with really in the real world. But I spent the rest of my 20s just following this calling. I landed up going to sweat lodges, doing all sorts of shamanic, interesting journeys. In South Africa, we have medicine people called sangomas, and they're of the African things like Xhosa or Zulu or Swazi, and you can go to various sangomas, and I even attended some sangoma ceremonies, and I was blessed to try all these different rituals, and it was really fascinating to be able to meditate and see angels, try the shamanic stuff, and find my place in between. And I only actually started going on my own for healing at about 29, and I still wasn't really ready. I just wanted to meditate and see. I wasn't really trying to save the world, and I was so blessed to have these amazing teachers guide me, almost kicking and screaming, to step into it. And I haven't looked back.
But you
It's been
started, what age did you start it then?
I started healing at 29. My mum was actually chronically ill, and I
Okay.
wasn't able to work on or with her during her journey before she died. And that triggered me needing to step into who I'm meant to be. And I started learning advanced aura healing. And it started with quite a bang. My first ever beginning of laying hands on and feeling energy, I had to remove entities and all sorts of really advanced things. It was just, I wanted life to be fluffy and full of rainbows, and it was intense. And I learned intense stuff really quickly, and I got guided for a few years with really intense healing abilities and how to do it correctly. And then I learned all the Reiki, and I taught myself crystals. And yeah, my
From there,
intuition
your name,
and
Crystal.
everything just unfolded.
Yeah,
So
it's all
exciting journey. I survived it.
What sort of beings do you see around you? That's really interesting.
Well, I can see, I'll start at the best. My favorite is archangels. When they fill a room up, it's just pure, intense light. And occasionally I see the eyes, but it really just fills an entire room. So that's always my ultimate favorite if I experience that.
Yes.
I see guardian angels. I've seen elementals from, I don't always know how to identify all the different categories, but fairies, little gnomes, I've seen all those, but mostly I have a huge affinity with galactic beings. So I've seen sort of blue beings, and yeah, now it's so popular. Now I can sort of Google most of the things I've seen most of my life. But my personal guide, I used to, at first, I thought he was a hologram man because he was a blue see-through man, and I thought it was great fun. It was like just this blue guy, and he used to take me on these little like wormhole visualizations, and I was like, oh, that's really super. I really like that.
Did you have
And then,
a blue suit on?
no, just
Were
to
you
me, he
by
looked like he
were
was
you
blue
for
and
the blue?
see-through. He was just,
You
he
were?
was like a hologram. And I didn't really think it out, you know. And then later, another clairvoyant friend of mine said, you have a spaceman with you. And again, I was like, okay, spaceman, I could see that. That's cool. And then during my learning the healing, the one day I finally saw his face because I just saw an image of him, and then his eyes popped. And it was just these sort of, now you could say, I suppose, the alien eyes, but just this beautiful blue. And I was just staring while I was giving healing. And this clairvoyant teacher friend of mine ran across the room and he said, how are you making this beautiful blue ray? Like, wow. And I was like, oh, I didn't know I was. I was just looking at this, like, this friend of mine's little eyes, and wow, I can make color from that, and that's healing. And then the relationship started, you know. Now his eyes change. Sometimes he introduces me to other guides. He shows me where to put different points on the body. I mean, I didn't even know I was making macabres as sort of sacred geometric stars. I've been doing that for the whole of last year, connecting different parts and organs and over the body with all these light points. And I only suddenly realized what I was doing months down the line. But I'm just being guided. I don't see the whole picture sometimes. I'm just like, okay, here, 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 all right.
Okay. You just
Um,
you work like a channel, let's say. He just
yeah.
tells you he works through you, really.
Well, you know, I don't allow beings to work in me so much. I've learned my lessons. I
Ah,
learned the hard way. But my guide works next to me, and when other guides come forward to work, then I let them show me what to do, but I personally do it. So they're
okay.
guides. Um,
Weren't you
and
scared the first time that you saw him?
No, but one of my clairvoyant medium friends was, she I asked her to check my guides for me just to check if, you know, I always like this validation from time to time to make sure I haven't gone down the rabbit hole. And she tuned in. I actually felt her arrive into the room, and she tuned in and she went, I was terrified. There was a blue man. So I went, I know, he's not scary. But I think he's an Arcturian, you know. I've been trying to connect. I don't get words from him. It all works in vibration and sound and sort of, yeah, it's really amazing. It's like almost like a didgeridoo. I don't know. I get all sorts of sounds coming through, but it's not words. Other guides, when I connect to other people's guides, I sometimes get words, and they're, you know, they can be from all walks of life. And you know, a person who's got a very strong personality often might have a warrior guide, or somebody who's a seer or psychic can sometimes have even a Nordic guide. Sometimes it's a little Chinese boy, sometimes it's an old person. Everybody is so different, and I always love it when other people have galactic guides, because then I can watch, you know, a similar sort of unfoldment in how they get along and how they move, and it's fascinating. I should write a book on it. I
Yeah.
love it. It's a real passion, but you know,
So
all
not
guides are
everybody
amazing.
have galactic guides. Not everybody have galactic guides. No?
In my experience, you know, I suppose the deeper you go with clients, the more you're going to discover. But no, not everyone. I find certain people definitely have galactic guides. Yeah.
Okay. But everybody have their guides. No?
Everybody. And the way I see a guide, I mean, that's kind of a, what is a guide? Why do you have it? I see a guide as an aspect of yourself, in the sense that I don't believe in past lifetimes. I believe in parallel, simultaneous lifetimes. And when I connect with my blue man, you know, I see that that's aspect of me. And in a current parallel reality, I'm existing somewhere else. And, you know, all different frequencies and different planets are happening right now. Okay. So, you know, I'm calling in, almost retrieving aspects of myself to work with myself. So even though it's got a high vibration that's similar to angelic, I am part of God, and so is my guide, and so are other people's guides. And so we're all just reclaiming aspects of ourselves. And by telling someone who their guide is, you're almost allowing them to reconnect with all these parts of themselves that give them strength, wisdom, healing, you know? So, yeah, working with your higher self in a way.
Yeah, they always say that we have parts from us in other spaces, in other times. Yeah, it's just like it all works parallel, no?
Yeah.
All the dimensions, all the spaces. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, how many guides are you working with personally?
Some people have like 3 or 4. I always call it a spiritual team. For me, I mostly work just with my blue man and then angels. I have had other guides come and go, you know, for periods of my life. So I'd say I've got a power animal that I work with, my guardian angel, the archangels, some of my ancestors. Yeah. But
And
I
what
mean,
about
I
your
think I'm
animal? Who's your animal?
Black Eagle.
Black eagle. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting when I discovered my totem. I didn't even know what the bird looked like. I just like, it was a huge black bird, and I could actually describe the markings. And I googled and found, and okay, so it was
That's the one
interesting.
who's always with me.
Yeah. And then the crystal thing's really interesting because the crystal consciousness goes so hand in hand with galactic work. It's such a similar type of vibration. It's so almost electric. And the crystals, for me, I always teach people not to look in a book and not to lay them in the body just according to modality, to actually connect with each sort of sentient crystal and get your own feeling and how your body feels with the crystal. So, you know, what it might say that, you know, turquoise is good to feel empowered. Maybe when you hold it, a different part of your body has a feeling, and you actually create a relationship with understanding each crystal you use. And with that, you can then start using it on other people to create that different color ray, feeling, energy, and actually almost like resonate at the frequency of a crystal to communicate with the crystal and the person at the same time, and the guides. And then what I've recently really has come into my consciousness last year is that we don't need the physical crystals anymore. Not that I'm giving mine away, they're far too precious. But when I don't have crystals nearby, I just call on the consciousness, because I'm so in tune with those particular crystals that I can take that energy and actually just use it throughout, you know, no time, no space. You don't need the matter of an actual crystal. You just bring that energy in. So the beauty is that now things are going so fast. The energy is going towards ascension. Things are happening so fast that we just think and it is. So, you know.
Do you think now at the moment the energies are totally different than before? Do you see that?
Yes.
They
Yeah,
move much
definitely.
faster and
I
yeah?
think that the synchronicities and the manifestation is more intense than ever, but that can also be a bad thing, in the sense that, you know, before you decide something, you visualize it, and it starts happening within maybe a week or two if you're really good at manifesting. But now it's like one thought can cascade into like kind of, you know, like for instance, like for me getting a class full of students, if I've gathered them and then I have a day where I wake up and I think I don't feel like doing this class. I just not in the mood. By the end of the day, about 3 students have asked for refunds and pulled out. And then I have to go stop myself, realign, and think, really, I do actually want to teach. I was having a mood swing, you know, and I wasn't feeling myself, and I was just grumpy, really. And I take a deep breath, realign, and I go, okay, universe, I do want this. This is what I want. Within an hour, I'll put a post up or something, and within an hour, I've usually got double the amount of students. And to
Really?
me, that really, so it's that fast for me. I have to watch everything. I can't allow myself to have a little wallow. It doesn't work energetically for me or my abundance or just the ripple effect on everyone around me. So, that's something that does feel more extreme than it used to. So I think now with the whole worldwide quarantine and the virus, everyone having all these fearful or worrying thoughts can feel quite heavy. And even the most optimistic people are feeling a little dense. Even trying to connect right now and meditate during this time is, in my opinion, close to impossible. All you can really do is maybe clear and cleanse and be this like human filter where you can go, okay, I'm working with ultraviolet ray and I'm just cleansing, like allowing myself to be the transmuter, because otherwise I'm just going to fall into a puddle, because being so empathic, it's so difficult right now. And when I do cleanse and I connect, it's so wow that I almost can't come back. So yeah, things are intense. It's intense.
It's intense now, yeah.
How
Do
do you
you have
feel?
do you do your personal work every single day or every hour or how do you work on yourself?
In my dream life, I would do it every moment of every day, because it's all I want to talk about and breathe and do, and I just want to shine. But I also chose to be a mum, and I've got 2 young children, so I guess I'm connecting with my light and shining for them. And in between, I send distant healing during nap time, and every moment I've got, I take a little deep breath and I go, okay, cool, I'll just quickly send so-and-so a little 5-minute healing and do this and do that, and every moment I squeeze in.
You try to do it
Yeah,
all
because
the
life is short, or so we're told, but yeah, it's finite, this one.
Yeah, of course. And we have to live now, you know. Past, future, everything's now. Everything is happening.
Yeah.
So we have to, yeah. I wanted to ask you one of your most incredible experience.
That's it's so broad. Some of the healings I've given,
Overwhelmed.
yeah, they've been very exciting, I've had so many validations and so many moments where it's so out of otherworldly, from removing really nasty attachments where people have actually had physical results while I'm doing it. So, and to actually see the process and see it released. So that's been really powerful. And, it's been an interesting experience to be able to do something like that, and to offer it has been extremely interesting. But then there's really fun ones where, I've been with friends and we've been able to validate each other's gifts, and that's really, really fun. I really enjoy that. I'd asked a very close friend of mine who's a medium to come check out my spiritual team and validate my guides. And while I was sitting on the couch with my family, I knew she was going to connect during the weekend, and I was sitting there, and I said to my husband, I turned around and I said, the room has just lit up. She's arrived with her team. And he was like, how do you know? And I said, I know. I can feel the room is different. This is so amazing. I can't wait for her to tell me what she's found. And then about 2 hours later, she called me and she said, I had the most amazing experience. This really scary blue man pitched up, took me with all your team to your house. I saw you on the couch because I was pregnant at the time with my second one. And she said, oh, you looked so beautiful. Your colors were moving. And I was like, I thought it was your team you came with. She was like, no, I was with your team. They were fantastic. So that was amazing, to actually feel that connection, not even trying to connect, but yeah, I love that.
That's really funny. Yeah. Tell
Yeah.
another one. Another one.
Yeah, also when I meditate or do self-healing, sometimes lately, last year, past lives or parallel lives have been coming up, and I've never had the experience, and I've had guided sort of meditation or experiences where you get a visual, but now things are really happening right now. And I started seeing all these different lifetimes flash, and then poof, I suddenly saw myself with my husband back in Israeli times, like back in maybe Jesus times, that kind of thing, on a fishing boat. But it was like not this vague image. It was, I was there. And I saw a whole lifetime of us on a boat fishing. And that was absolutely amazing for me, because since I've met my husband, the only thing he said to me is, let's buy a boat and go live on a boat. And I've said, hell no. And now it makes sense. Brothers on a boat. and he died in that lifetime.
So you know your husband from other lives.
I think we know everybody from other lives that we almost connect with. All the people who really challenge us or we love are all soul group family, you know. So I don't think knowing a husband necessarily makes it like this big love. It just means it's karmic, you know. There's things, you know. You know when you meet someone and you have that really deep connection, there's always something to like. It's not always easy, hey. Sometimes the connections are not easy.
Yes, of course, not easy. But I mean, yeah, you just feel it now. It's just something that you feel.
Yeah, when I met my husband, we actually both just walked up into a crowd to each other, smiled at each other, and that was it. Like huge.
It's incredible. No words necessary, isn't it?
Yeah, no words.
No words. How is your healing work? How does it work? I mean, a little bit for the listeners that you can explain a little bit. How does it, you know?
Well, I think I've pretty much covered my way of working. So I'm very
How
much.
does the sessions goes? You know?
Yeah, somebody would come in and I would start with gentle Reiki and just connecting to somebody else's energy because I don't go in gregariously and cause trouble. I just gently connect and I feel who they are. And it also gives me, just that relaxing feeling one gets from a Reiki session where you just get nurtured for a few minutes. And that allows me also to get out of my monkey mind, my chatterbox mind, because otherwise I'd talk everyone's ear off. So I have to also ground and I need to connect. And that is it's as much for me as it is for them, really. And from there, once I've found my space and found their frequency, then I start receiving information very quickly. The guides pop up, anything that needs to be removed, or if there's any ghosts attached or anything that is draining energy, I'll remove that. And then the crystals, I start getting intuition about where to place them. And then I start checking the chakras and the body parts, the organs. Then I start taking direction from the guides. Usually the guides, depending on the person's development, if someone's never really been for healings, it takes almost a whole session for a guide to come through, or the next session, because they've got so much almost physical things to get through. But if somebody's on a healing path on their first session, almost immediately I'll meet their guide. So it sometimes takes a bit of, it's almost like a frequency, a certain level, where the guide will only come through to them. Or sometimes I'll see a guide and I'll say, don't mention it to them yet. They're not ready. They've got other work. They don't want to get distracted, because you get so excited about all these spiritual things. You don't want to tell people something to give them, like you don't want to first cause fear. If someone's got something negatively attached, or you don't want to build into that, you just want to remove it and get on with it. And if they've got guides that want to work with them, sometimes they've first got to get through releasing some heartache, working on some physical issues, so they're able to really find a strong connection. So yeah.
So you can talk immediately with them. You have immediately a connection.
Yeah, when they're there, I communicate.
Of the guide of your patient, let's say, no?
Yeah, it's almost like telepathy. It's like when I first saw my guide, I saw his eyes, but I didn't see his mouth for a few years because I just got information, and now I see a mouth. But with other guides, occasionally I get words, but mostly it's a knowing, or they'll direct me and actually point and show me things. So, and also they speak in images. So occasionally I also get like a picture of a book opening or a direction someone needs to take. Like one of my distant clients, I didn't know she was writing a book, and her guide told me all about this hilarious book she's writing, and even showed me as far as a logo of a publishing house that I actually landed up researching and finding. So yeah, that was interesting.
That's really nice. Yeah. And what is your method that you use? This?
Well, I've only really studied Reiki and advanced auric healing, so I do pull on that, but I think my methods are channeled most of the time. I kind of feel like I'm creating a new system, like a lot of the things I'm doing. I mean, even crystal healing, like what I do is I call myself a crystal healer, but I hear from other people what they're doing, and it's really not the same. It's almost like I'm using the crystals to raise my frequency and then listen to what they need to do. So a lot of the stuff is, I see almost like sound bubbles, like a dolphin bubbles going through the body. And I am almost toning inside myself, and this light language coming in and downloads. And I feel all these things are happening at the same time. It's phenomenal, you know. So yeah, I don't know if I have a method. I'm going to call it a crystal soul healing.
Yeah, it's nice. Crystal soul healing. Okay. Do you have some advices for others, for the people embarking on the path to be a healer?
For me, the biggest thing, being that I'm quite sensitive and empathic, is that I constantly need validation to feel like I'm not a bit crazy. And no matter how many times I get it, I need more. So I really think it's important to have good, solid teachers who are authentic, who support you thereafter, even as friends,
Mhm.
and to have other people who have similar skill set as you to call upon. And as a healer, one must also go to other healers for rejuvenation, or your cup does go empty. I've experienced it a few times now. When you're a giver, you sometimes forget to replenish. And I think it's wonderful to give so much, but you really have to pull back and allow some time for yourself as well. And how I've done that for myself is I've created an online community on Facebook of about 1,000 people, 1,000 soul friends that I don't really all know all of them, but
Yeah.
the idea is that it's a group for learning and sharing and exploring. And so there's options for giving free readings, free
Mm.
healing, free little videos, you know, learning. And that space has been more for me in the long run than I realized,
Yeah.
because that feeling of being supported and making all these friends I'd never have made normally on the same path is actually, that support system is just held me through everything, you know. And I think we all need that, and we're not
Yeah.
islands.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That it holds you really what you're doing, and you know that you are. Yeah. Can you heal remotely or on distance? Remotely?
Yes, that's remotely, yeah, that's distant healing. So that's something I find really easy. I really like doing
Really?
that. Yeah, I don't even touch people generally when I do a healing. So the
Okay.
remote healing is really exciting because for me it's almost like a wormhole to somebody, and I'm right there, and it's like they're in front of me, and I can read their aura, I can talk to their guides. So I quite enjoy that, especially now in quarantine. That's a real plus. But I've always been able to, and we all can, you know. It's almost getting your head around the fact that there is no distance, and it's almost like you allow yourself to teleport. It's always like a sci-fi, isn't it? You teleport somewhere and you can actually be next to someone. It's quite powerful, you know. And receiving, I don't know if you've received a distant healing, but it's quite amazing. Even if you are not lying down and tapping in, you can actually feel your aura expand. You can see colors. I mean, the other day I had one from one of my friends, and I could actually see all these visuals, but I was trying to feed my kids porridge and, you know, do a million things, and I was still experiencing all this wonderful healing.
She did a healing to you.
Yeah, we share, you know, we swap.
Are you share? You do to
You know,
her.
it's a tough time. You know, the energies at the moment are rough, and I think we all need to, as soon as we feeling charged, offer somebody else a healing so we can keep the flow going, you know,
Yeah.
because there is intense ups and downs at the moment through the whole world.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, because I wanted to ask you, how does it work? Of course.
You know, I teach my students, you do it from a photo. So you connect from the eyes in a photo and you read the aura, and from there you
Through the
use
eyes.
visualization. Yeah, I
Oh,
always use
through
the
the
eye.
eyes. Okay. So now I have my glasses on. You can't see my eyes.
No,
So
no,
it's
and then
important to
sometimes with the
see
photo
it.
I can read about someone, how many kids they have, what they do, you know, things like that. Because I think I'm literally connecting with the soul. It's like those red Indians saying, "Don't take a photo, you're capturing my soul." I think they had a point.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. A message for the listeners? Something that you would like to tell?
Mm, I think it's right now, it's all about finding your healing within. And I think the message I want to leave with everyone is what I'm going through at the moment is reclaiming yourself, allowing all the parts of yourself to integrate. And when you're going on this journey, no matter where you are, whether you're just interested or you're far along the path, that the message would be just to ask, that all parts of yourself return so you can stand in your power. And I think that's standing in your power is a very used term, but when you really think about standing in your power, it's a very beautiful concept, and it's where we all need to be right now with everything that's happening. We're all called to stand up, and we're all
Yeah.
called to shine a light, and we can only really shine when we've actually claimed everything back. And that's from every trauma through your life to past lives, parallel lives, future lives. And it doesn't mean processing all those things. It means saying, I'm completely comfortable with who I am right now, where I am, and not being at my best all, every day, every moment. But in this moment, I choose to share my light.
Exactly. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Where can the people join you? Where can they find you?
I'm mostly on Facebook with Crystal Soul, and my group is Crystal Soul Sanctuary.
Crystal Soul Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you. And thank you for all this time that you shared with us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It was such an honor to share my journey, and to hopefully I've touched people's hearts and they can also open up and share their journeys. And, you know, any questions, if anyone wants to connect with me or ask any questions, I am so willing and able. Sending everyone so much love, especially you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolette.